You're now watching Heartstring Stories by Vicky Avix. The golden sun melted into the horizon, washing the Italian seaside town of Ravello in a warm orange glow. The waves whispered against the cliffs below the sprawling Montenegro villa, where Isabella Montenegro, daughter of one of Italy's wealthiest businessmen, stood on her balcony. Her golden hair swayed in the soft breeze, her blue silk dress brushing lightly against her skin. But her eyes, deep, lonely hazel, carried a sadness money could never fix. Down below, near the vineyards, a young man wiped the sweat from his forehead. Alejandro Cruz, the gardener's son, tall and olive-skinned, with dark curly hair that refused to stay in place, pushed the heavy wheelbarrow filled with fresh roses. His father had worked for the Montenegros all his life, but Alejandro, he was different. He was educated, ambitious, and carried dreams too big for his small world. That evening, fate played its hand. Isabella's heel broke while she walked through the vineyard, trying to escape yet another dull dinner with rich suitors her father arranged. She stumbled and fell, landing near the rose garden. Alejandro, startled by the sound, rushed toward her. "Are you all right, Signorina?" he asked, kneeling beside her. She looked up, annoyed at first, but when their eyes met, her irritation melted into something unexplainable. His voice was calm, sincere, not rehearsed like the ones of her father's guests. I'm fine," she said softly, watching as he gently helped her to her feet. When she smiled in gratitude, something inside him shifted. That was the beginning. 4 days after, Isabella found excuses to wander near the gardens. She told her maid she wanted fresh air, but really, she wanted to see Alejandro. Sometimes, they spoke about books. Sometimes, about dreams. She'd laugh at his stories of fishing by the coast. He'd listen, enchanted, as she described her favorite constellations. Their conversations grew longer. Their glances, warmer. One afternoon, as they stood by the olive trees, a sudden rain began to fall. They ran for shelter under an old shed, breathless and laughing. Then silence, that kind of silence that says everything words cannot. Alejandro looked at her, his heart pounding. "If I were someone else," he whispered, "someone with your name, your world, would you still look at me this way?" She took a trembling breath. "If I had to choose between a world of gold and a moment with you, I'd choose the moment." He kissed her then, gentle at first, then desperate, the kind of kiss that makes the world vanish. But love, in their world, came at a cost. Days later, Don Marco Montenegro found out. A servant had seen them together. The next morning, Alejandro's father was dismissed. Alejandro was dragged out of the villa by guards. "Stay away from my daughter," Don Marco thundered. "You are nothing, a laborious son. Do you think you can taint the Montenegro name?" Isabella begged, tears streaming down her face. "Papa, please. You can't do this to him." But her father's anger was iron. Alejandro left Ravello that night, his heart broken, leaving behind everything, except a single rose Isabella had once given him. Months passed. Isabella was sent to Milan to recover her sense. But her heart was never the same. The glamour, the parties, the designer gowns, they meant nothing. Each night, she wrote letters to Alejandro she never sent. Until one evening, her maid brought her a newspaper. There, on the front page, was an article about a young architect who had just won a national award for designing sustainable housing for the poor. His name, Alejandro Cruz. Her heart skipped. He had made something of himself, without her, yet because of her. 2 years later, she returned to Ravello for her father's 60th birthday. The villa looked the same, but something in her had changed. During the celebration, her father announced proudly that she would be marrying Count Alberto, an older man from a wealthy family. Isabella smiled politely, but inside, she was breaking. After the announcement, she walked outside to the vineyard, now overgrown but still beautiful. There, standing beneath the olive tree, was someone she thought she'd never see again. Alejandro. He looked older, stronger, more confident, but those same dark eyes still carried the gentleness she remembered. "I heard about the engagement," he said quietly. "It's not what I want," she replied, her voice trembling. "You're what I want." He stepped closer. "You know what it means if I take you away from here? You'll lose everything." She smiled. "Then let me lose it all, Alejandro. Because everything means nothing without you." They stood there, under the same stars that once watched their secret kisses, and when he pulled her into his arms, time seemed to stop. The distant music from the party faded. The lights from the villa flickered behind them. Then Don Marco appeared at the balcony, his face frozen in disbelief. "Isabella," he roared. But this time, she didn't turn back. She took Alejandro's hand and whispered, "Run." They ran through the vineyards, through the rain that began to fall again, just like that first day. They reached the edge of the cliff, where the sea crashed wildly below. "Where will we go?" Alejandro asked. "Anywhere," she said, breathless. "As long as it's with you." He smiled, tears mixing with the rain. Then love has finally won. Behind them, voices shouted their names. Ahead, the horizon glowed with dawn. And though the world would call it madness, for them, it was freedom. Sometimes love may be forbidden by the world, but blessed by the heart.